watch the games that are happening, the current NFL playoffs, the 4 teams that are remaining, or even the 4 teams that were just eliminated, it's easy to get caught up in, oh yeah, look at this that they do better than the Steelers, or look at that they do more smoothly or more efficiently, and think that it's just about coaching. A lot of it is about coaching. A lot of it isn't. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. You know what's funny? When the Steelers were 10-3, one of the thoughts that I had at the time was how neat it was that they were 10-3 without really having any significant recent first-round talent making a big impact. Now, that's going to sound mean when I say it, and I don't intend it to, because not all of this is based on ability as much as availability. For example, the most recent first-round pick, Troy Fautanu, participated in the equivalent of 1 full game, meaning the start that he had in Denver, and then he was gone. But you didn't get any impact from him, did you? No. The year before, Broderick Jones was the pick, 14th overall, and the Steelers actually traded up to get him, and he might have been the most mercurial performer on the entire roster. And I don't mean that in the good sense. You just had no idea what you were going to get from him, not just game to game, but snap to snap. That's a heck of a thing to be dragging around as a first-round pick that you traded up to get. The year before, nobody needs me to remind you, is just a wasted first-round pick. I'm not saying that as some sort of slap to Kenny Pickett. Just you didn't get anything for him. 20th overall pick. Go back to the year before that, Najee Harris. Say what you want about Najee and his 1,000-yard seasons, and I know there are all kinds of different thoughts on that, but within the next couple of months, you're going to see from the Steelers how much they valued him, because they're just going to let him walk away. I'd almost be done with this decade, except that if you go back to 2020, that, of course, was the year that they traded the first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Not going to open up the Minkah debate door right now, but Minkah was not of much help to this team this season. He just wasn't. Whether that's his fault, whether he's lost some dynamism to his game, or whether he was just misused by being placed 50 yards off the ball with every snap, that's another show for another day. But the second-round pick, the top pick in that draft for the Steelers, 49th overall, was Chase Claypool. Poof, gone. Bust, really, if you think about it. And speaking of, let's just keep going. Year before, Devin Bush traded all the way up to number 10 overall to get him. Complete bust. 1,000% bust. Year before, Terrell Edmonds. Nice player, durable player. Not at all what you would want from a first-round pick, even as late as he was selected at 28th overall. So the year before that, you go to TJ Watt and you say, all right, well, TJ, what a brilliant pick. And he was 30th overall. There's just nothing negative to be said about that. He's a Hall of Famer that you got at 30th overall. But the year before that, Artie Burns. Listen, there's a lot of things you can do in football to buck the odds. There's a lot of different ways to build a team. We have seen teams basically scrapped together from free agency. We don't see it very often. Now, there's a million different ways to analyze who does what in the draft, who's to blame, who's to credit, and everything else. I'm not really here to do that today. We'll have time enough between now and the draft to get into that sort of thing, especially as it relates to the current hierarchy and how things are done under Omar Khan and Andy Weidel. And yes, if you choose to hear this segment as yet another criticism of Mike Tomlin because he's the most consistent variable in all of this, go right ahead and do that. My point today, the one that I'm making, is that when you're talking about things that need to be fixed with this franchise, when you're talking about things that need to be emphatically addressed, and by that I mean all the way at the top, rather than passing out flowers because you get yourself a nice 4th-round pick in Nick Herbig, or maybe a 7th-rounder in Corey Trice, or a 3rd-rounder in Peyton Wilson, start asking about these first-rounders. And maybe, just for the fun of it, try to picture what your roster would have looked like, hypothetically, this past season, 2024, if you had even, 2 real live impact first-rounders come out of these past 5 or 6 drafts. Just 2 of them, instead of continuing to rely so heavily on the first-round successes from 8, 10, 12 years ago. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Dave, who says, what I want to know, DK, is what happened in the locker room. That's pretty broad, Dave. There were some specific things that happened, stuff that I've been over on this program, notably the complaints that I believe were aimed at Cam Sutton. But if you're wondering if the Steelers collapse, losing 5 games in a row like that, getting smoked in the majority of those, if your possible stance here is that something was off with their camaraderie or chemistry, my response will be that you're trying too hard, respectfully. I'm going to keep saying this until I'm not blue, but like completely purple in the face. What you saw specifically in Baltimore was not a case of we're not trying hard. There was one play that was shown on TV, and the resident college football guy apparently made a remark during the broadcast. I don't see or hear those in a press box setting, but enough people have brought it up that effort was an issue. It wasn't. There was one awkward sequence where Dante Jackson, a heart and soul guy on this team, who's been playing through constant back pain, didn't go full bore into Derrick Henry after he'd already been tripped up by Minkah Fitzpatrick. And that was enough for a lot of people to just take it and run with it. It's not just lazy, it's inaccurate, and it's not at all reflective of the reality. Look, that stuff is fun. Okay, the drama stuff is fun, and for whatever reason, the Steelers fan base seems to embrace that stuff more than any other, it seems to me. I have no idea why, but it's not the media, okay? It's the Steelers fans that go searching for this stuff, and I know that because I don't get into that kind of stuff at all, and yet I have fans asking me always about, well, did you hear that? Or read that this person said that, or that person said this. And I was like, I couldn't care less. I cover the team myself. I don't care what gets reported elsewhere. I don't get into whatever's rumored here or there. Okay. If I have something to share with you, kind of like the Cam Sutton stuff, I'm just going to do it. It's not to manufacture anything. It's just because I found out about it. But in the most general sense possible, if you're looking at what went wrong here, and you're looking past really, really bad coaching, and you're looking past the stuff that I got into in the opening segment today, the absence of recent impact young players added to this roster because you've either wasted or, in Troy Fautanu's case, haven't seen him yet, that's a tough way to win. That's no picnic, okay? No matter what else might be going right. Does that let Tomlin off the hook? No, he's part of that process, just as he's part of the coaching. Does that let him off the hook for his actual coaching? No, of course not. He's out there managing games. Does that let the current players off? No, not the good ones anyway. But what it does, if you think, for example, to yourself, all right, what are the positions of need in the upcoming draft? And again, we're going to have months to do this. And you say, I don't know, defensive line. You say cornerback. You say, well, of course, they have to get a wide receiver or two, especially if they're going to ditch George Pickens. How about a running back since Najee Harris is going to be gone? Okay, now how many positions did I just name? 4, right? Okay, and I could have done more. Now picture that they'd already addressed all these things with their very first pick, with any of these selections just in this decade alone. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow. Don't forget to check out the new Double Shot video that comes your way this afternoon.